What's up, everybody? It is Ebontis here. Just did a quick run through of the TWAB offline. So what I'm going to do is kind of touch the high points. They went back and talked about flinch resistance. They talked some about airborne, some of the details on that one. So I'm not going to the nitty gritty because I literally just read through all of that myself. If you want to know all of that detail, feel free to jump in and check it out. There are some highlights though. A couple touches for Guardian games. So let's cover it. First thing, they did actually want to highlight their response to the leaked draft of the U.S. Supreme Court for Roe versus Wade. If you want to check that out, their statement is there. Basically, it's, they're making a stand, and it seems reasonable. This week at Bungie, the third annual Guardian Games have begun, and they finally got the cross out in there. Hunters, Warlocks have taken the lead, but it's still early, so we'll see how it's going. Big thing, obviously, is the farm, which we'll get to here in a second. Overall, the top class in the main event, there is stuff with regards to the Guardian Games Cup. I have not actually looked at what's going on for points and everything, but it says you can track them here for who's winning, who's playing, and you'll be able to do actually all of your leaderboard tracking right in here, potentially on this page, I guess, or somewhere, but we'll just have to see what's going on. But if you want to check out Guardian Games, there's teams from all over the world. Kind of cool. They got representation for each class from lots of different territories. Check them out if there's somebody in your area of territory that you know who covers this game. Maybe they're part of a team, so that's actually pretty cool. This is a randomly stupid thing, but that, tankard, the cup, has a stainless steel insert. It's like 21 ounces. The outside is so over the top, almost too much, but it also is, kind of very cool for Guardian games. You got the different classes, the gold, the 3-color band. The backside has more on it. I don't care as much about the metal, but the tankard actually looks cool, and the stainless steel part that you drink out of is removable and washable, and then you can just put it back in. I don't know if I'm going to get it. It's one of those weird ones, though. I actually might go for it because it's just almost that ridiculous. I just wanted to point that out. It's in the Bungie store. Basically, to get that one, you're going to have to light 2 platinum torches. Means you've got to earn enough medallions in 1 week, and you've also got to get the platinum threshold at the competitive playlist over the weekend. So, last giant TWAB, the 9,000 ward one, wasn't quite enough, so they did want to touch on answering a few more questions. Flinch resistance was one of them, and that is something where, stability is going to help it and things of that nature. A simple way to state it is, flinch resistance is going to be, if I'm aiming this way and I get hit, if I'm 60% into flinch resistance, instead of moving 10 degrees to the left, I'm going to move 4 degrees to the left. So basically, it's just a percentage of your normal flinch is how much your flinch resistance keeps you on target or keeps you moving. Some basic scalers, if you want to know, no distractions on a gun, 0.65, Suro Synergy, 0.8, unflinching armor mod is 0.75, 2 of them is 0.7, so not much of a difference. You probably could find maybe another mod to use on your chest instead. I don't know if it's chest or not. I always forget where those are at. Rally Barricade, that's a lot of unflinching because it's going to basically multiply it by 0.5. 10 resilience is going to be 0.9. 100 stability in an auto rifle is 0.75x, so basically 25%. 100 stability in a sniper is 10%, so keep that in mind. But auto or primaries in general are going to have more stability than specials, and that is intentional. Okay, so airborne effectiveness. There's a lot of details in this thing. If you want to read through all the minutia, that is totally fine. The idea though is airborne effectiveness is a new stat that's going to be on weapons for one, and something you can spec into as well based on what exotic you're wearing, what are the perks you're getting, what your stats are. All of those things are going to be, there's a couple things that will go into that. But the idea is they wanted to make, if you play airborne as a style, you like Icarus grip, you're jumping around. Stompy's got hit pretty hard, so it's going to be hard. If you like the Stompy feel of a hunter, it's going to be harder to be getting the airborne effectiveness stat up very high. But they stated with airborne effectiveness, the accuracy, if you are on target with your reticle and you pull the trigger, you shouldn't really get that much of a penalty. The idea is airborne effectiveness now, unless you build into it, you're not going to get very much aim assist. You're not going to get much of the bullet magnetism. You're not going to get much of that reticle friction. Those things will not be happening very much in airborne effectiveness unless you build into that stat. Basically, other than that, though, it is the idea that if you are airborne and you don't build into the stat, if you can hit your shots, you can still be effective. But you're going to get much less help from the game to do that. If you build into airborne effectiveness, theoretically, like if you want to get it really high, Stompies may not be your guy to run with, but your airborne effectiveness could feel similar to the way it does now, or even potentially a little better, depending on how it goes. The airborne effectiveness, if that is your PvP playstyle, that is something to make sure you read and try and understand, probably from people smarter than me on the PvP side. Your Fallouts, your Cool Guys, your Nomads, your Drewskis, your KMK, any but of those firing range, great podcasts, those guys, I'm sure will talk about it. The idea is when they talk about precision aim assist and your different accuracy cones and what's going to happen, and here's kind of the key, which isn't exactly labeled very well for these, but you can see you've got accuracy cones, you've got airborne effectiveness accuracy cones, aim assist cones versus accuracy cones, center point of where your actual like dot actually is, head target, body target, all that type of stuff. There's a lot of details in here that you can go through if you want to. But the general idea is if you want to play the airborne playstyle in PvP, which for those who have high skill, that is one of those things that truly does set people apart, is being able to take the verticality into things, because most people tend to play on like a level playing field, and when you go vertical, it messes with a lot of people. So high skill is there. You can either build into it with airborne effectiveness stat, or if you are airborne and you're good at it and you can hit your shots, you can also be lethal still, but it's also going to be the people who thought they were good at being airborne with the aim assist like helping them. That's not going to be there anymore. So more people may be missing shots and wondering why if they didn't go through and read the entire TWAB. So there's a lot of detail for aim assist. I don't want to cover everything in there because it's just a lot of minutia. Not really worth it. Scavenger perks. This is something they're messing with for PvP. All scavenger mods are disabled just across the board. That's the idea. So, and they said by disabling scavenger mods, are you trying to bring back the double primary? They said they're trying to make it more viable, but they said, and they want fewer one-hit kills, but they don't want to eliminate them. You're still going to spawn with 2 rounds of special ammo if you're using, you know, or whatever. But they also said on the interesting side, this may be an indirect buff to the strategy of running double primaries to starve your opponent of special ammo. So it's going to give different people different strategies. If you're good with, say, a scout rifle or a pulse rifle and an SMG, and you don't need one, people aren't getting special ammo from you. So that's one of those ways to play. They've also stated, you know, are special ammo changes effectiveness enough to reduce the dominance? Is basically trying to strip Scavenger out enough to make special ammo not overbearing? They're just going to have to see. They are seeing short-range primary weapons probably having an increase. Sidearms and SMGs, depending on your preference, are potentially going to be better competing with shotguns and fusions because their range is being drawn back a little bit. They're also going to basically say they've pushed the current PvP ammo system as far as we can with this change. Scavenger is gone. Can't do much else. If this doesn't move the needle, we'll look at redesigning PvP ammo economy entirely, which would be a longer-term change. Nightfall, who knows? It'd be a while for that one if this doesn't make it more manageable. They want more primary fights. They want the special ammo, the shotgun to be that moment where you know you're coming up on somebody, they're coming around the corner, you're playing into that effectiveness. But if you run up and you kill somebody, and then you pick up like 2 other bricks, and then you can be fast enough to catch another person, and all of a sudden you've got 6 ammo in your shotgun, and you can just go bam, 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 and you can somehow get close enough to people and get those kills, you theoretically never run out, depending on the playstyle. Now, there is a point where just the run-and-gun shotgun ape, or, on the other side, if you manage to stock up on a whole bunch of sniper ammo, like maybe you get kills, go on the other side, pick up the ammo, and then you can have like 6 or 7 shots in a sniper rifle, you're probably not going to be able to have that much ammo just to camp a lane for a while. It's going to be more difficult. That's the idea. Special ammo shots are still going to be there, but you're going to have to be more deliberate with your choices with special ammo, however you use it and whichever weapon you use it for. On the other side, more primary ammo fights, scout rifles, things of all of those nature, hand cannons, pulses, autos, sidearms, submachine guns coming in there as well. All of those are potentially going to be seen more often. Little longer time to kill, obviously, because the one-hit tap is going to be gone. And then also on the other side, you've got primary weapons maybe getting a little more use, maybe see what needs balanced and what doesn't. Again, this is one of those feels they're really trying to pull back the special weapon heavy lean into that a lot of people do, and then you can possibly see where primary ammo weapons are balanced or unbalanced, for one, because more people would use them, and then 2, also making those gunplay a little bit more skill, movement, positioning, as opposed to one taps from a lot of stuff. Other changes, will playlist weapons that have a Foundry get both the Foundry and the playlist perk? Sure. Snapshot sights. Mostly for sniper rifles is what this is for. Sniper rifles on, or snapshot sights on non-sniper rifles is an animation duration basically multiplied by 0.5. It's basically twice as fast. On special weapons, it's going to be 50% faster. Sniper rifles with, being as they are getting less of a bonus, the sniper rifle with snapshot sights will still be a little slower than even it is now, because the sniper rifles are taking a bit of a hit, and the ADS from snapshot isn't going to be as much with that combination still. So sniper rifles are going to be a little slower with snapshot sights, but all of them will be a little snappier, which is like a weird balance. They'll probably be close, not quite, you know, maybe 60% instead of 50%. A couple archetype issues, or not issues per se, info. The lightweight pulses does include the BXR5 Battler, so that is going to get a bit of a buff. And basically, the kind of a way to remember, any exotic weapon that shares a rate of fire with something else typically tends to fall in that line, unless they say otherwise. Something like Hawkmoon or something like Thorn, specifically Thorn's like an example. They probably aren't going to touch Thorn with certain buffs that they might do to 140s, but that's the type of stuff they tell you in here. Retraced Path, our one legendary trace rifle, is getting the trace rifle buff. I forget what that is. I think it's like 30% in PvE. Basically, it just should be, trace rifle should be more effective. We'll have to see exactly if they're worth it. Sludge shotguns are going to have the airborne accuracy penalty. So if you're not accurate in air, you're going to miss unless you build into it. But they don't have the, they do receive the damage fall off and aim assist fall off changes. So, but they don't have a spread angle that's going to affect the normal shotguns. Any changes to aggressive fusions? Nope. Do all SMGs benefit from the damage fall off increase? Yes. Do all SMGs with lower than 14 zoom now have 14 zoom? No. Only the ones listed in the previous TWAB. So if you have certain SMGs, and zoom is one of those stats you may not even know exists, depending on what range, what scope, and things of that nature. Hopefully those are some of the stats we're going to see in Season 18, because they said more stats for your gun are going to be visible in-game as opposed to going to like D2 Gunsmith or Light.gg or anything else to pull those information. Full auto, which is something where they said for primaries, basically for accessibility, the option for that to be turned on as a permanent thing instead of a mod, they were saying in a future season. Seems like it's getting pushed farther. Currently it's targeting Season 19. Either it's taking longer, it's just not as high of a priority of what they're doing. That will eventually get there, probably sometime before Lightfall is what it feels like sneaking in at Season 19. Are the numbers for fusion rifles correct? So the charge time masterwork, they're going to touch on the charge time masterwork. Basically, your base damage would go down some if you have the charge time masterwork actually put in there. On the other side, the damage fall off distance for fusion rifles is going to start sooner. So the farther away somebody is from you, your max damage like starts to drop a little bit closer in than it did before. That's the idea. If I hit somebody at 15 meters and I get the full damage of my bolts, and now for my range is pulled in a little bit, if they're still at 15 and now they're with before that, you know, range of 0 meters, then, or the 0 range like 2 meters less, now the damage fall off might be 80% or 90%. The fall off is just going to be sooner, so you're going to need to be a little closer. This is all the special weapon changes. Shotguns have had their effective range pulled back a little bit. Fusions have had their effective range pulled back a little bit. Again, as they're trying to balance both fusions and shotguns. Shotguns, you're going to need to basically go give them a hug, but also to allow things like sidearms and SMGs a bit of a room to shine. So, you know, they're trying to make these adjustments and see how they work. Why is there no sidearm change? They basically state they are a niche pick right now for players who favor them. They can be good, but not a lot of people use them. If it's a niche right now, not a lot of people like them, but they can be effective. Maybe strong people will, but not everybody's good with them. I'm terrible with them. So again, if you're good with sidearms, you might be sitting pretty if you have a god roll sidearm for some reason. The auto rifle change doesn't sound like a lot because it was like a very tiny multiplier to what is coming. But it is going to be a little bit more than we think. Again, just have to feel. But they're also looking to do some weapon balancing in Season 18 for primary. Lots of them. Auto rifles are included. The Summoner has only been back for a couple, basically a season, and then it's going to be gone next season. So if you haven't got one, make sure you get it. They're just trying to do more of a rotation of Trials weapons to keep the loot pool fresh. They did bring it back because they're probably working on other stuff, but in Season 18, Summoner will be gone. So if you don't have Summoner now, you will need to get it in Season 17, because when 18 launches, you know, 3 months plus 3 weeks from now, that's when it's gone. Tracer rifles and machine guns are getting buffed. Does this suggest future anti-champion mods? No comment. Machine guns theoretically have a lot of potential going into next season. 40% against minors and majors, which includes champions, is massive. And that does include Grand Overture and Xenophage. So, again, I told you guys get your Grand Overture Catalyst. Xenophage still may be the go-to, but again, it's just nice to know. But like Heir Apparent's getting 40% for everything I just told you, but Heir Apparent and most other machine guns are also getting a 20% bonus against bosses. They're going to be able to put some damage in. The idea is, if you don't have a good machine gun, now is a good time for one. Make sure you get Heir Apparent. That farm is not that hard to do in Guardian games. It could probably take you a few hours. It's really not that bad of a quest. The medallions probably take the longest for the Catalyst, but make sure you get the Catalyst. It's a big one. And Trace Rifles are going to help as well. So maybe those are going to be champion mod related. We will just have to see. Exotic weapon changes. They talk about like airborne effectiveness for Vex. Kind of feels like an auto rifle. Wave Splitter wasn't quite described correctly. It is going to have that variable damage. And it changes while firing. Changes to the orb max charge time are still accurate. So basically, if you pick them an orb while you're using Wave Splitter, you're going to get the big max damage bonus. Risk Runner is going to stay at a 13 zoom. Osteostriga is unique, so it's not really going to get affected. Lumina Noble Rounds and Boots of the Assembler Seekers now also grant 15% damage in PvP. Instead of 20%, because they're trying to get rid of those one hits that people were doing with Arianas and stuff. The original value in PvE is untouched, so that's staying what it is. Layman Arc is affected by Necrotic Grips. No, it is not, because not a weapon of sorrow. The only two that are Thorn and Osteostriga. Other than that, they're not. Lawrence Driver's change effect applied to Arbalest. No, but they'll be looking at that again in the future. I hope Arbalest doesn't slowly get nerfed. Dado had a good video on that one. I mean, we're all getting tired of champions, shields, and the requirement for all of our champion-specific weapons for, here's a cool loadout, but to do this activity, you have to use these 3 things. So, at some point, I hope they get into that change or more flexibility or whatever it is, but we'll see. They say Devil's Ruin and Fighting Lion are they being monitored for their unique ammo situation between primary, which Fighting Lion is primary, and it's a grenade launcher. They say they're going to be stronger. They'll watch them, but they don't have any plan changes. Eyes of Tomorrow, basically it's a 1.3x damage scaler on whatever it's normally supposed to do. So it's going to be 30% stronger to everything it fights. That's the main pieces. For weapon crafting, if you guys haven't heard, the elements, Energetic, Drown, Mutable, Adroit, it's those ones that the limit was 250 and now it's 1,000. Those are all gone next season. So wouldn't worry about farming those. If you are working on red bars to get ready for crafting next season, the goal would be to have 10,000 neutral element. That's the most important piece because that's all that's going to be there. Ascendant Alloy is going to be there, of course, that type of stuff. But all of those legendary elements that were kind of weird and they had to put the thing in the game for to see how much you had, they're all gone anyway, so it's just a short-term thing. They did actually also say if you want the if you want the gold border around a crafted weapon, what you're going to have to do is have 2 enhanced traits and the enhanced intrinsic perk. So if you build the frame originally, you got to level it up to like 7, 8 or something. And then you can go back and basically pick the masterwork, where you go and pick like the extra range, the extra draw time, accuracy, whatever it is, depending on the weapon type. You pick that specific like frame boost, not like one of the traits on the gun. It's just like, you're basically picking the masterwork. You would have to pick that, which I think usually costs you a decent chunk of something, materials-wise, and then 2 enhanced traits to get the gold border. If you do have all 3 of those, then you can have a gold border crafted weapon. More of a visual thing for the people who care. Freelance Trials this weekend is going to be taking place on, what is the name of this? Altar of Flame. So they got 44% of the vote. Vostok wasn't too far behind with 36%. Fragment, I can see why most people probably didn't want that one. That received 20%. So Altar of Flame will be Trials tomorrow. For player support, Guardian Games has some issues. The Contenders Boons, which I talked about in my video, there is no Platinum Boon. Now, I have an issue that there is no Platinum Boon, but that's just like more of a thing. Like, hit the gold threshold, get a gold boon. Hit the Platinum threshold, don't get anything. The Platinum threshold is mostly to light the Platinum torch for competitive scoring. I get that at this point. But if you train to get buffs, gold, gold buff, or it's even bronze, bronze buff, silver, silver buff, gold, gold buff, platinum, no buff. I don't like the feel of that one, and that's just one of those things in my head. But there is no platinum buff. There never will be. Platinum score is mostly for the threshold and the competitive nature to try and get in the top 10% for scoring. We'll just have to see what that plays out like this weekend. Shoot to score quest. You're going to sit on step 1 until the Guardian Games competitive playlist unlocks on Fridays. Then you're going to be able to get your bronze, your silver, your gold, your platinum. And that's the way you're going to get through the progression of the quest. If you can get in the top 10% for the weekend, then you'll actually hit that step of the quest as well. From there, then it's just going to reset on Tuesday. And you'll go back, you'll do your training on the next strike. Then you'll go through each of the other steps in the competitive part of the weekend. So right now, shoot to score isn't going to move until competitive playlist unlocks on the weekends. Etheric Spirals, if you still have any of these, trade them into Rahul, get rid of them. They're going to go away at the end of the season in less than 3 weeks. There are some known issues. There are a couple random ones in here. They say kills earned while standing in a teammate's well of radiance do not count as super kills, and also for the super spree strike medal. So you're not going to get that. The super spree medal is not working for those awarded by being buffed by weapons of light. They're not. And again, these are known issues. Theoretically should, but they are not happening right now. Also, kills earned by teammates on enemies tethered do not count towards the super spree. Players on Steam may have had the Witch Queen incorrectly added to their platform cart. That was from the Guardian Games playbook. That was fixed. That was just a weird bug, but pretty quickly fixed. The competitive catalyst popped into my inventory for Heir Apparent, even though I already have it. Don't worry about it. You can dismantle it. No big deal. And I think that's mostly it. Movies of the week. Art of the week. And we'll just have to see. Cosmo basically wraps it up. Hasn't done a TWAB in a minute. But he stepped in for DMG while he was gone. That's it. So tomorrow we will have Xur at reset. So it's going to be, what is that? 10 a.m. Pacific time. Xur is going to come. Freelance Trials on Altar of Flame. So Trials and the Freelance node will be active. So again, if you ever do play Trials, that is the time I recommend it if you are a solo player. Or I will play, actually, and not feel like every time I boot up and I see if there's a 3-stack, I'm just, like, defeated before the match starts. So Freelance is there, which is good. And then Guardian Games competitive playlist is going to go active this weekend. Hitting the thresholds is honestly not that bad. I think most of the time I go through, if you kill everything that spawns in this strike, Platinum's not that hard unless you're dying constantly, so just play a little safer, kill everything, and you just do it in under 20 minutes and you'll be good. You'll get the full time in 20 minutes, just kill everything, try not to die. Platinum's not that hard to reach. As for the top 10%, I have no idea what that's going to take. I don't know how crazy some of these people are going to be. We will have to find out and see. But that is it for the weekend, guys. For the TWAB, we have the podcast tonight. It's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern time right here on the YouTube channel. And we don't have a guest this week, so it's just the 3 of us catching up. Talking about probably all the Sandbox changes, because I know Cog was gone, getting our feel of Guardian Games. May not be the longest podcast in the world, but come hang out tonight. And then tomorrow, Xur and more competitive. So I will see you guys soon. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like below, leave a comment if there's anything I didn't highlight that maybe needed to be highlighted, because I did not read through all the minutia. So if there's some giantly important thing, please comment below, share it with all of us. If you want to find me on Twitter or Twitch, it's Ebontis on both of those platforms. If you have not subscribed yet, which I know a lot of you haven't, hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell. There's a lot of support for the channel, though, so thank you all for that one. If you have not seen my Guardian Games guide for basically everything, make sure that you guys check that video out. It's going to be in the description. It's going to be the link that pops up here in the end. And the only update to that I put in the comments. Basically, if you do metal deposits, the better the metal that you deposit into the podium, better chance that you have to get a title machine gun. They did fix the drops. It's now active now. So far, pretty much every gold and every platinum that I've done, I've got at least one of those things. Some people have been getting more. The idea is, you turn in the gold and the platinums, you're probably going to get one. The silver and the bronze, less likely, but maybe possible. Either way, you should be able to farm all of the titles that you want. Hopefully, you guys can get some good rolls. Those of you who are YouTube members and Patreon subscribers, thank you guys for the extra support there. All of you are amazing, though. I'll see you soon.